Hey music fans! As a roadie, I had this great opportunity to tour with all these bands. I wrote a book about my experiences on the road, and it was the #1 new release on Amazon and Bios, and it's now sold millions of copies on Kindle. I'm Joel Roadie, and this is my podcast, Party Like a Rock Star. Have you ever heard of a band called NIGHTWISH?
No.
All right, let's jump into that and you can let me know what you think.
Okay.
This is a special one for me because not only did I work for Stone Temple Pilots, I'm a big fan of the band. When I began to work for STP, it was my first gig. Steve was the manager, and so I always remember him fondly. He was cool, man. He was always nice to me, and I was the bottom guy on the totem pole, and he was, of course, the top dude. And so it's good to reconnect with people. Anyway, I did reconnect with him recently. I asked him if he wanted to come on the podcast. He was all into it, and I hope you guys like his reactions. He's a really cool cat. He's a good dude for real. Some of these went a little longer. I like people to get to know the guests a little bit. I think it makes it more fun. I went a little bit deeper than usual maybe because some of the stuff intrigued me. I wanted to know about STP's origins and whatnot, and so if you're STP fans, it's great. If not, I put chapters there and you guys can skip through the stuff if you're just not interested and you just want to see the straight reaction. You can still do so. Either way, I hope you enjoy it. I also want to throw a shout out, a thank you to the people here at not just Tokyo Treat, but their sister company, Sakura. You can find Tokyo Treat products at tokyotreat.com or Sakura products at sakura.co. They always think of me and they send me all these wonderful treats, and why I like it is it's just different stuff for my palate. It's different things for me to try, and they include tea, by the way. I'm a big tea drinker. I love tea, and so it means a lot to me that they would not send me one box but two to try all this wonderful stuff. So thank you very, very much for thinking of me. Guys, let's jump into this. Let's see what Steve Stewart, it's so cool for me to have this guy on, thinks about your favorite band. Let's do this. So this is NIGHTWISH. They've become one of my favorite bands. I actually found them by accident. I was trying to look up a track by a different band when I had one of the roadies on, and we pulled this up instead when I first started this channel. And then I became this massive fan. I think they're really talented. Have you ever been to Wacken?
I don't think I've been to Wacken. It sounds like it's in Germany.
It's in Germany, yeah. So this is a band called NIGHTWISH. You haven't heard of them. I'm very eager to see what you think. They've been around a little while. They're not like that last band, The Warning, who's just kind of getting going here. Although The Warning did start when they were young kids, by the way. But nonetheless, these guys have been around a little bit. So let's give it a go. You can let me know what you think. Oh, they're from Finland. Just give you
Finland.
Finland. All right, let's do it.
All right.
Needed more pyro, huh?
I was waiting for the pyro. I saw those things like, what's coming out of there? Like confetti or fire? And it was, of course, it's fire.
Fire. What'd you think?
It reminds me a lot of Metallica for some reason. I mean, I'm sure a lot of stuff sounds like Metallica, but very structured. I thought the singer was great. It is kind of Nordic for me. I mean, I know some Nordic bands that are in the same ilk, not obviously like that, but engaging, great playing, super theatrical. Yeah, I mean, it was great.
You liked it. All right, that's very good. So since we were discussing, we're talking about theater sizes and the warning there, we estimated 10 to 20, Wacken's bigger and whatnot. It makes me happy. It's a fun question I like to ask when I was doing the interviews and bringing all the roadies. What's the craziest show that comes to mind that you ever did?
Well, the craziest show was probably the PNC with it was a 99, was it a 99X? It was a radio show. Steve Kingston. It was K-Rock New York. So whatever they're called, so the call numbers are. K-Rock New York did a festival at PNC in New Jersey somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was Ozzy was we were the headliners. It was between us and Ozzy. And we were talking with them, and obviously, Ozzy's Ozzy. And in that day, headliners, if you had the choice, you didn't want to play last after an 8-hour festival. So our choice was to play second to last. And before us was Fred Durst.
Is this the one where Creed was the last one?
No, I think Ozzy was last. It's possible. You wrote about this in your book as well. So it was, I mean, and the story was very close to what my story is. There was no real discrepancy, but I was in the production office when we got the call that Durst didn't want to come on.
And I know the story. Okay.
Right? And so it's Sharon Osbourne, myself, Steve Kingston, whose show it is, and all the production guys. And we're like, where are you guys? We're like, well, we turned out they were in their bus parked down the road. Right? They were there. They were just half a mile down the road sitting. They didn't want to play while it was still daylight.
Right.
And their managers were there. It was Peter Katzis. And I said, well, look, guys, this was negotiated with the radio station, I don't know, 6 months ago, right? Everybody's signed contracts. Everybody's got an agreement. Here's the set list. The audience expects these bands to come in this order. And you're causing a delay, right? It's going to be you, STP, Ozzy. Great.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we don't want to play when it's still light out. And we're like, okay, well, you should have discussed that with your managers and with this radio station 6 months ago before you agreed to do the show. But now the lineup is happening. These kids have been sitting out there for an hour with nothing happening because they're waiting on you. So get your asses in here and let's play this show. And it went back and forth for like 20 minutes. And finally, Sharon and I were having a discussion and we said, look, here's what's going to happen. Every minute that you're not here comes off your set, right? So I think they had like an hour or 45-minute set. I said, right now you've already eaten up about 35 minutes of that. So if you get here now, you have 10 minutes. If you get here in 5 minutes, you got 5 minutes. It starts shrinking down. All of a sudden, these guys file in. They pull up, they get there, they start filing in. They're really grumbly. They got on stage. I think they might have done 2 songs, and you were there.
Yeah.
And I was at the side of the stage, and Sharon was there, and Peter Katzis was there, and we're like looking at our watches, going, this is it. Their time is up. We told them they had time. They're not going to interfere with our set or your set. So she's like, "What should we do?" And I said, "What do you think?" She goes, "I'm going to shut the show down." I said, "Go for it." She walks literally up to the side of the stage, pulls the power levers down,
He
and
did.
Durst is in the middle of a song, like, "No, no, no." All of a sudden, there's no more vocals. You can hear the acoustic drums because that's the only thing that's not amped or electric. And then all of a sudden, the crowd starts reacting, and Durst just takes his mic and throws it down on the ground and huffs off. And we put up the background music, and STP got set up. But it was
that changed. Yeah, it's that's how I remember. I just remember Sharon looking at me and me thinking, "Man, you are very tough. You're a very tough lady. I never want to piss you off."
she was really tough. And Peter, their manager, was right there too. And he looked at us and he knew there's nothing he could do. I mean, contractually, he was wrong. And, everywhere around, they were just selfish bastards and didn't want to have the show the way they wanted it, or wanted the show the way they wanted it at the expense of the audience and everybody else. And we're like, that's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
that was probably, there's shows where people start burning stuff in the audience. There's fights. I don't think anybody ever died at a show I was at, but, it's when you're backstage, you're not privy to a lot of that stuff that happens out front, as you know. So I'm sure there's typical rock and roll craziness, but the bigger the show, the less you can see what's happening. I'm sure some of those huge arena shows, you don't know what's going on in the back. I mean, who knows? Someone probably had about 20 kids back there somewhere, but you don't see that from the stage. You certainly don't see it from backstage. But that was something where, it was really an internal conflict between the artists, and we were we're negotiating the whole time and watched these guys come in, and I'm sure it was embarrassing for Fred, but what else could we do?
Show must go on.
Show must go on. That's exactly right. Ozzy's got to play.
Yeah. So in regards to Nightwish, one last question. So I feel that their commanding presence here at Wacken, which is massive, massive. Did you ever have a band that you worked with, not STP, that, because I already know the answer to that, but had issues with getting bigger and bigger and playing for those huge audiences and not being able to connect, as I feel Nightwish does so well?
I did. There's an interesting story. A band called Gordon that I signed to Brendan O'Brien's label, 57 Records, through Epic. So they were a Sony label. Brendan, who was STP's producer for a long time, did Train and Pearl Jam and a million other records. Amazing guy, by the way. And he signed them almost sight unseen. They did one performance, and the lead singer, this guy named Devin Kamen. Wow, how do I remember his name? He was an actor, and he was also a lead singer in this band. And my friend Jeff Phillips, amazing guitar player, still to this day, I keep in touch. And he's, he was the guitar player. And we made the record. Record I thought was pretty amazing. They made a great record, and we're starting to book this tour. And Devin's like, do you think we could not tour? Like, hello, what are you talking about? Not tour. He's like, well, I'm not really comfortable getting up in front of a lot of man. You're the lead singer in a rock band. What do you mean you're not comfortable getting up in front of people? I saw you get up in front of people and perform. What are you talking about? He's like, I just get really nervous. And this kid who I said, you were in a Taco Bell commercial that was shown to like 10 million people in front of he goes, I was in front of a camera. I said, all right. He literally had this weird anxiety, and it got to the point where he wanted to only perform like 4 shows a year. I said, that's impossible. There's no way to sell you as a band unless you come out and see people and perform. So we had to back out of that record deal. It was really bad. And I said, you've already encumbered the label. They've already paid for your record. You already signed a contract. It was, my relationship with Brendan was good enough to make that happen, but it was not good. And I'd never seen anything like that. Here's an opportunity to be on basically a Sony label, to have a tour, a record made, a tour laid out for you. The world is your oyster. And the kid just couldn't he just couldn't come through. He just could not do it.
Wow.
All the coddling, all of his friends, all the bandmates, they were just like, and it was, yeah, so it wasn't so much they couldn't connect at a show, they couldn't even get up to do the show. I'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah, that's a nutty one. I can't. I just would be so excited, and not like I wouldn't be in fear. I'd be excited. So it's kind of a nutty idea.
Well, can you imagine you're the guitar player, like his best friend, going, dude, I just signed a record contract. I just made a record with you. We're about to go on tour, and you don't want to do this, right? It was like
crazy.
It was, yeah. I'd never seen anything like it. And their contract wasn't a small. It was probably a $500,000 better contract. It was decent money. Sony Records, everything was legit. And Brendan O'Brien produced their record. You couldn't really ask for more, but
yeah,
just couldn't get it together. Couldn't pull it off. It was shocking. I never seen anything like that.
Madness. All right, let's jump over to Kazakhstan. Have you ever heard
Kazakhstan?
Kazakhstan. Have you ever heard of a performer by the name of Dimash?
No.
All right, let's see what you think of Dimash. Let's do it.
All right.
Hey, the podcast is over. What are you still doing here? Well, while you're here, like and subscribe. Thanks.